hear me? Okay, thank you. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Okay, let's get started. Good morning and welcome to the Natural Gas Storage Report, Crude Oil Inventories also. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the Trading Director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. All right, and we are looking first at natural gas, and then we'll stay in the room and we'll look at oil. Both of these reports, they're not family money reports. They are, so a little bit of history on the gas and oil reports. Years ago, a couple of years ago, oil and gas were trading so volatile on their reports that we used to call them call the broker trades. You would trade the news, and sometimes the move would be so dramatic and so crazy you wouldn't know if you were in the market or out of the market. The software, not because there's something wrong with the software, but sometimes when there's a move that's so fast, the software will try to place a stop, and the stop will already be in a completely different place theoretically, and it will return an error. The software will try to close. As it's trying to close, it'll place an order, and then you could wind up back in the market when in theory you might have been out of the market because the move was so fast, or the platform tried to shut you down because it received an error. Both natural gas and oil fit that bill of trading so fast. When I first started doing this type of trading years ago, I was a TradeStation user. I was trying, and it wasn't that there was something wrong with TradeStation, but natural gas in those days was so volatile. I mean, you could not believe, I can't even describe it. You can't believe how it would move. It would do whipsaws the like you've never seen in nanoseconds. You couldn't tell what happened. And it was worse than oil. Oil was also guilty of trading in a similar fashion, but not quite as bad as natural gas. So in those days, years ago, we rarely traded natural gas or oil at all. As the years pass by, and I have been here for years, the tenor of the impact changed. And in fact, unbelievably, I made natural gas a family money trade up until 2 weeks ago. The reason we removed it as a family money trade is because when you calculated all of the natural gas reports from the time that we started trading in a family money manner, natural gas was unprofitable. Even though it had plenty of good trades, it still was unprofitable. And even if you take into account last week's and the week before's profitable natural gas trades, it's still unprofitable. Barely a little bit under flat. And I think for next week, what I'll do is I'll spend a half an hour and just recalculate all the natural gas profit and losses from the day we started trading family money, just so you can see. I'm not making it up. I would love to trade natural gas as a family money trade, especially after last week's trade. If last week was the first time you came into the trade room and you were a new member and you watched natural gas, the natural gas report, let me show you what you would have seen. So let me find it. Natural gas last week would have been, I think July 1st, July 2nd. Let's see, the 30th, bear with me. July 1st. Now, natural gas is very patternistic, meaning you get 2 to 3 wins in a row, then you get one stop, sometimes 2 stops in a row. Most often, natural gas will give you one stop, and then it'll have a good trade. It only stopped out 2 times in a row, a couple of times this whole year. Okay, so if right now we're 3 natural gas wins in a row, I believe, and let's check that before we look at last week's natural gas trade. So here's the daily market mover for today. And yes, natural gas has 3 winners in a row. Under no circumstances would I personally trade natural gas live today based on natural gas patterns of trading over the past year. Yes, you could get 4 winners in a row, but it's pretty darn rare. More often than not, you won't get 4 or 5 winners in a row. It could happen, but my policy now on natural gas is when we get a stop out, I'll trade natural gas. If we get 2 stops in a row, I'll call the next week's natural gas a family money trade. Because if you get 2 stops in a row, you're now trading on the probabilities of natural gas not stopping out 3 times in a row, which is incredibly rare. It's incredibly rare. And you want to try and take advantage of those patterns that the market has been showing us. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but nothing means it's going to work. Just because a trade's a family money trade doesn't mean it's going to work. So we're just using the information that we have available to us and making decisions based on that information. But so let's take a look at the previous week daily market mover. So that would be 7-1. Okay, this is 7-8. If we look at natural gas, 7-1-ish. Slide down. Natural gas. So you see what I mean? You got 2 wins, 2 stops, 2 wins. Let's look at the week before that. Just want to educate you a little bit on natural gas and its patterns. Okay. Natural gas is very unique in that it's very patternistic. 2 stops, a win, and an unusual 3 wins in a row. Doesn't do that very often. Let's look at one more natural gas, 6-17. Again, my goal here is just to make you aware of natural gas patterns. 3 wins in a row, then a couple of stops. Those are those same 2 stops. So don't think it's been stopping twice in a row regularly, because it doesn't. One more. I'll show you one more. So natural gas 6-17 would be something like the 12th or the 10th. My point here is I'm just educating you on patterns. That's all. Sometimes that's what we're looking at. 3 wins in a row. That's about the most we get on natural gas as of late. Now, all of a sudden, that pattern could change. It could turn into 5 in a row. But right now, I'm just talking about what's the pattern for natural gas now and what's it been for many months. It's been 2 to 3 wins in a row and then a stop. Then 2 to 3 wins in a row and then a stop. That's how well natural gas has been trading. So why isn't it a family money trade? You'd think that if you have 3 wins in a row, it would be a family money trade. Well, one of the issues is natural gas, because, let's be honest, because of the fear of it returning to its insanity and the way that it used to trade, we've always traded a small number of contracts. And very honestly, my boss, all the years I've been here, has given me grief. Don't trade natural gas. Don't trade natural gas. And then every time I trade natural gas, the week he tells me not to trade natural gas, I get stuck in the market and I have a horrible trade. But let's be honest, natural gas has been about at least 70% profitable. The real problem. So one problem is we trade it small. So when we have a winner, our wins are small. When we have a loser, because natural gas has a lousy risk to reward, our stop is 15, but our targets are small. Targets of 5, 8, and 12. If you're willing to risk 450, your return is 250. So if you have a full stop out and you lose 450 and you make 250 or even 350 with slippage in your favor, you're still looking at natural gas problems in terms of your profit. Okay, so that's why when you're looking at the ultimate results of natural gas, yes, it does sometimes win, and it does often win. But again, even when you trade it the way our setup is, the risk to reward is just not good enough to make it a family money trade. Now, there may be an instance or two when I will make it a family money trade based on the probability issue. I don't mind trading on probabilities. You know, if you get the US jobs report and it stops out 3 times in a row, I'm trading it big the 4th time. I'm just going to, because I know that report is not going to continue to stop out. It's just not. These are things that regular discretionary traders would probably be shocked by, because it's not normal trading concepts that we use at 10-minute trades. We don't use all the normal trading concepts. And that doesn't mean that we're bad traders. It means that we do things differently, because that's what we are. We're different. We're not the same as a regular discretionary trader. We're not sitting in front of that market for 8 hours waiting for a moving average to cross over before we get into the trade. That's not how we do it. Okay? I'm trying to just give you some insight into the way that me, the trade room moderator, the big shot, the way that I'm going to trade these reports. Now, maybe if I was the world's greatest trader that ever lived, maybe I'd be able to take those natural gas wins and I'd be able to make them into bigger winners. But I'd have to also change our report. I'd have to make our targets bigger. And the targets are a certain size because we've evaluated the way natural gas moves. Now, what's interesting is you have to remember that this field in the daily market mover that shows how many ticks moved. In other words, last week, 7-1, it says win 66 ticks, large spike in 13 seconds. Don't forget, you got to subtract the bracket of 5. So we're 61. Last week happened to be very huge, a very big move. And you also have to subtract whatever slippage there would have been. And there might have been, 5 ticks, 8 ticks, 10 ticks, probably not more than 10, because there usually isn't. Point being, maybe you'll have a couple of weeks where if you used bigger targets, you'd make more money on natural gas, but you don't have enough consistency where you can change the targets permanently. Unless the reports are all retested, which is not an unreasonable approach. If at some point we completely retest natural gas and determine that our targets can be bigger, then it may be possible to trade natural gas more profitably. But as it stands now, trading it the way that we trade it, it's just not tradable to make enough money to call it a family money trade. It's a coin toss. That's it. I mean, really, natural gas is pretty much a coin toss. It will just basically keep your account pretty flat, maybe a tiny bit negative, maybe a tiny bit positive, depending on what the reports do. But that's how it trades. That's how it's been trading right now. So that's the insight. That's the insight in natural gas. Here's last week's trade, which was beautiful. It was a great trade. Now, in order to take full advantage of our report, you have to trade 3 contracts. That's extremely risky with natural gas. You could lose in the blink of an eye if something goes wrong on natural gas. You could lose $1,000. It could blow through your stops. I'm just telling you that it could happen. That happened to be a perfect trade. The speed was perfect. Watch that trade and recognize a perfect news event. Perfect. It wasn't too fast, It wasn't too slow. That is a perfect event. Watch the way it moves. It's just fast enough to fill you all your targets. There's not a lot of slippage. Just perfect. That's a perfect trade. Anytime you can get one of those, you're happy as a clam. It also, you could have doubled your targets last week, but you don't know that. Okay. Maybe the week before, it just barely hit the second target, right? Maybe it didn't even hit the third target. That's what you're always dealing with. Difference is in targets. It's not always hitting the third target with ease. That's just not the way that it works. So natural gas, as much as I'd love to trade it as a family money trade and as a trade that I trade every week, the numbers don't support it. If the numbers don't support it, you know, it's the old Einstein statement. You don't want to do the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different outcome, because that's the definition of insanity, right? Is that the right statement? That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. I believe it is. That we don't want to do. So that's why natural gas is not a family money trade, even though it's been the trade of the week many times this year, many times. But that trade of the week might have been $100 winner. Not a 200. There haven't been very many $200 winners. There's just been some nice moves, some very nice moves. Here's 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, natural gas. Let's see how many targets I was. 2 weeks ago, I was trading live. One position, looking for 10 ticks. Look how much it struggled just to hit the first target. It struggled to hit the first target, and look how much slippage there was. All the way up on the candle, I got filled. Okay? Way up on the candle before I even got filled. That's why natural gas is not as easy as it sometimes seems. Okay? It doesn't mean, you know, and that's that. So you got to make your decision based on that behavior. Okay? Everybody clear? Let me set up the trade, but let's say natural gas was a beautiful work of art. If it was, which is correct English? If it were a work of art, or if it was? If I would say if it was a work of art, you could trade natural gas every week and you could make money on it. Our bracket is 5. It's got 3 targets, 5, 8, and 12. Okay. But the problem is the stop is 15 ticks. I've discussed with my boss, who generates the DMMs, hey, can we shrink the target to 10? Can you do the analysis and let me know if we can shrink the target to 10? If we could shrink the target to 10, we'd have an opportunity to make more money on this trade, because when it goes bad, we'd lose a lot less money. And the truth is, he did the analysis, and no, we can't shrink the stop. There would be too many more losers if we did. So my targets are 5, 8, and 15 with a stop of 15. So I'm risking $450 to make $250. Now, there's usually a little bit of slippage either way. You might have positive slippage, you might have negative slippage. You know, that's natural gas. That's what it does. There's slippage. We deal with slippage. It's just like air. It's there. We don't worry about it. Our setups take slippage into consideration. If it's a high slippage trade, our targets are going to be smaller. You're not going to have a 50 tick target if you have 10 ticks, 15 ticks of slippage regularly. You have to, you got to do things the right way, right? So I've got a bracket of 5, a target of 5, a target of 8, a target of 15, a stop of 15, entry time of 10:29:59. All of this comes from the daily market mover. And I mean, look, it could work perfectly today, but based on probabilities, natural gas is due for a loser today. But it's trading well. One of the problems, one of the reasons I hate to just trade using probabilities is because it's trading so well. It's really trading well. There's a chance it could be a winner today. But you look at those probabilities, it rarely has 4 winners in a row. Go to the website time.is to put your computer in sync. Go to that website. But very simply, if you are trading a report and after 12 trades, which could be almost 3 months, because natural gas is weekly, and you haven't made money, why continue to trade that report? Find something else to do with your time, right? You don't need to take that risk because it's not rewarding you, okay? It's not rewarding you. If it were rewarding us with profits, we would trade it. It's not complicated. So we got 5 minutes. Oh, I'll tell you, man. This world. So they're looking for, and there's another issue we've been dealing with on natural gas is Financial Juice is looking for 29 billion in storage, and investing.com is looking for 34 billion. That's enough of a discrepancy in what's expected in the news to ruin a trade. In other words, it's far enough apart that just the discrepancy in the calendars is enough of an offset to create a good trade. So it makes it even more difficult today, in some ways, to have a good natural gas trade. Although what we have been seeing are large offsets in the news. And I've explained what a large offset is. If they're expecting 1 million cubic feet in storage and they get 5 million, that's a large offset. If they're expecting 1 million and they get 1.1 million, that's not a large offset. Okay. Now with natural gas, it's in the billions. It's 34 billion cubic feet is what they're expecting this week. Last week there was 76 billion, but there was a 10 billion offset, if I remember correctly. John, it's a little program and you can download it from the room drive at the top of your trade room taskbar, there's a little file folder, and it's called the topmost clock. You can download it. It's in the file folder on the taskbar of your trade room software, John. It's called topmost clock. And then the way that you adjust it is putting your cursor dead center in the middle. If you right click it with the cursor dead center, it lets you change the type of clock, the size. If you left click your mouse and hold it down, it lets you move it. Okay? But it's up there in the folder. If you have any problem, just let me know. And then just install it. And after you install it, the clock will show up on your screen. What I like to do, John, is I like to move the icon to my taskbar so that if my clock is off, if I right click it and close it, if it's on my taskbar, I just have to click it to turn it on. It's real nice. It's a great little piece of software. I don't know who, someone gave it to us years ago, many years ago. I don't know who. So natural gas is going to release, and then we'll stick around for oil, and we'll talk about the oil issues. I will tell you this, I've been making next week's schedule. Next week is an awesome family money week. Lots of trades. Lots of trades. So don't be discouraged. Don't be frustrated. There will be slow weeks. There will be busy weeks. There will be medium weeks. It's the nature of trading. We have a very set way of doing things now. We do not overtrade. That's a very important part of being successful in our analysis. If you don't overtrade, you'll make more money. So far, that's what we're showing to be true. Fred, I forgot about earnings. Fred, earnings is totally different. I'll tell you why. You know why. Earnings is going to be really different this quarter. Netflix is almost a family money trade. Okay, let's see what happens here with gas. So look, another perfect natural gas trade. I'm so tempted, folks, I'm so tempted to make natural gas a family money trade. I can't tell you. It's just driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy. Now, I will not trade natural gas again until it gets stopped out. But that's 4 in a row. Very, very unusual for natural gas. It's unusual, but a beautiful trade. A beautiful trade. And you got a couple of ticks of positive slippage in SIM, you know, and it went quite a bit further than our targets. You know, our targets are looking small right now on natural gas. Let me render the video. It's so, I mean, there's nothing to say other than nobody is stopping anyone from trading natural gas. I will calculate the money, okay? I'll calculate the money. And you'll understand, I think natural gas is now positive, okay? Natural gas is now positive. Since we started trading family money trades, it's been 3 months. Natural gas, in my opinion, is positive. Okay. Now, that would not have been a $280 trade in real life. You have to understand that. Now, TJ, did you trade that live? Because if you traded it live, then it is a 280. Okay, and he made 280 on that using the exact settings, TJ? Did you use the exact settings? He did. Okay. So why was it? Why did it work? And why did it work perfectly? I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't fast. It wasn't fast. Okay. Let me show you the video. Give me 1 second. Now, one of the hardest things to do is to stay with your system. Dutchie, right click your trade control panel, click on properties, and where it says show realized P&L when flat, make sure that's checked. Make sure that's checked. Okay. Now, the reason that natural gas trade worked so well also is there was 16 billion, a lot less gas in storage than expected. It was a beautiful offset. It was a perfect offset. It was a perfect trade. It was perfect. Okay. You're going to get them. It's my job. It is my job to stay within the system. It's hard. When you see a report trading well, it's hard to stay within the system. Because right now our system says don't trade natural gas. Okay? Right now it says don't trade natural gas. Today and last week it was beautiful. And I think it's just passed into profitability. Here's the trade. But don't forget, you could lose $1,000 on one trade if it goes wrong. That was a nice natural gas trade. And your third target easily could have been double. Or at least 10 more ticks, right? It just went straight up. If you get the news, natural gas is very good at responding to the news. Oil is not. Oil is not as good as natural gas responding to the news. Now look, I'm not going to change my setup, my system. I'm not going to add a report without doing much more analysis than just watching a couple of trades. Okay? TJ, you're willing to take a little more risk sometimes. I watch you in the room. I know where you're at. I'm not making a value judgment one way or the other. I'm happy you made money on the trade using our setup. That's awesome. Send me your screenshot. I want to advertise that. Our setups are good. Our setups are good. Sometimes it's just difficult. It's like I said, sometimes you just can't make the money on a steady basis. Yes, you're going to have those perfect trades. You might have 5 in a row. But I'm just telling you that the opposite can occur. And when you have 3 natural gas losers in a row, you'll want to kill me. You will want to kill me, right? Today you would love me. But it's just, my job is to tell you the truth, right? Isn't that my job? If I don't tell you the truth, how can you know what to do? If you're a beginner, if you just signed up, right? I know natural gas can make money on random trades. And I know that it's trading pretty darn good as of late. Fred, getting back to the earnings. Do you remember what has happened that is now going to change a tremendous amount of earnings reports? And we don't know if companies are going to change them. Exactly. They're not closing the market at 415 anymore. So, Fred, for the ones we trade, think about Apple. Apple used to announce just as the market opens. It may give us a better opportunity to make money on Apple because we won't have to worry about that gap when Apple announces. You understand what I mean, Fred, I'm sure. So, and that also eBay might be tradable. There's a whole bunch of companies that used to trade between 415 and 430 that we may be able to add. It might give us 3 or 4 extra earnings trades to trade, unless some of the companies change their hours. They might change their hours. Now, something happened last night that has been affecting sometimes the way oil trades on Wednesday. When the Tuesday report has a huge offset, what we've seen anecdotally, and Brian's been testing it, it's a little bit better than anecdotally. It's been showing to be somewhat true. When there's a very big offset the night before with the Tuesday oil report, usually oil trades well the next day. But we're now on the 4th large offset in a row. Each successive offset reduces the probability of oil trading well. It's the first opportunity that's always the best. I don't know, it's like the first time you test a level, you don't want to trade that test the 5th or the 6th time because it doesn't work as well as the response is when it does it the first time. And look, that's not a 100% rule either. But we're in a situation now with oil where, yes, we've had a big offset last night, although it is shrinking a little bit, but it was almost double what was expected. There was much more of a drawdown than what was initially expected. But the point is, we can't trust the probability right now because it's on its 3rd or 4th probability in a row. It's not a probability anymore, right? It's just a situation that's taking place. So oil has not been trading well at all as of late. It went through a period this year where it did trade well for about 3 months. Once the weather got warm, we noticed oil started trading rather poorly. We decided it's wise to wait for the summer to end before we trade the Wednesday oil report again. So unless there is a new probability, I'm not really planning on trading Wednesday oil for a while. And it's strictly because the opportunity to make money is much worse with oil than it is with any other of our reports right now. I shouldn't say that, but it's not a good, there's not money to be made currently trading oil the way that we do it. There may be discretionary ways that people do a great job, not really discussing that because that's not how we do it. Let me see if I could find last week's video. I can't believe I don't have it right in front of me. Last week, I guess it was the 30th. Okay, that's why I couldn't find it. So you could see oil was 3 of 6. That's a coin toss last week. Okay, that was last week's daily market mover. Here's this week's. Now, I believe that that last week was an absolute loss in oil. It was not. It was not a target one last week. I'm almost positive it was. It was clearly a loss. We'll look at the video. Forgetting last week, you've got 2 wins, 2 stops, and a cancel. So you have another week where oil is a toss-up at best. Let's look at last week's trade. I believe it was a loser. I didn't think it was even unclear, but let's see. So here was the report. Now it's a 7-tick target. So here's the issue, and this is clearly why, in my opinion, analysis does not take the place of live trades. Even in sim, the price went through our target of 7 ticks, okay? And in sim, it didn't fill. If it didn't fill you in sim, I will bet my life it will not fill you in real life. Filling in sim is easy. Filling in real life is more challenging. The price went through the target, didn't fill. It's going to reverse, stop us out. Oh, you know what? Look at that. Maybe it was a target one. Maybe I will call that a target one. Okay, I'm going to stand corrected. Very hard to tell if you did not trade that live, what that real result would have been. My boss, who's an expert at analyzing, what he's saying is that 1 second spike, might not have filled target one. That's what he's saying. However, it kind of does look like it hit target one before it did a complete reversal. But even still, target one is only 7 ticks. The stop is 12. All right, so it didn't fill there. Now, if you had the wherewithal to get out of the trade with a profit, you know, you might have made some ticks, 7 at the most. Okay, so not a big winning report, a troubled, difficult report to trade. A difficult report to trade. That's how oil's been trading more than 50% of the time, or at least 50% of the time. It's a coin toss right now. It is a coin toss. I'm not trading coin tosses. I'm just not. Why? We made this decision 3 months ago, and we love our trading account. We love having money. It's that simple. I've got way more money in my trading account now than I had 3 months ago. And as long as it keeps going up, I'm going to keep staying within our system. Okay? So TJ, I don't know what you do with oil. It's nowhere near as good as gas. It just isn't. And that's the other issue with oil also. We usually don't trade two contracts. We trade one, looking for 10 ticks. The first target is 7, right? The first target is 7. So to set up our report for oil, it's a bracket of 10. Oil has a big bracket because it moves pretty dramatically. The first target is 7. The second target is 15. And the stop is 12. Your risk to reward is nowhere near as bad as it is on natural gas. You're risking 240 to make 220, but there always is, almost not always, but there's often slippage against you or sometimes slippage for you. Oil is hard. Let's be honest, it's trading 50% roughly. At 50%, it's not a winning trade. Okay? It's just that simple. So for us, right now, oil is a watch. We don't trade it. It's barely a coin toss. It barely. Okay? Now, natural gas trades much better. If I'm going to risk one of them, I'm going to put my money on natural gas. But now that we've had 4 natural gas winners in a row, I'm not touching natural gas until it has a stop out. It could go 8 weeks. It's possible. But I don't want the first time I decide to start trading natural gas again, I don't want that first time to be a stop out. I'd rather wait until it's ripe to pick the fruit off the tree. Okay? That's how I look at it. I love starting a trade after a stop out because our reports are good. They don't often stop out 2 and 3 times in a row. Even the lousy ones. Although maybe I shouldn't say that. The lousy ones are lousy. They stop out too much. All right. So oil today, bracket at 10, one target of 7 ticks, one target of 15 ticks, a stop of 12. Entry time 10:20, 10:59:58, 11 o'clock trade today. 10:59:58, breakout trade. Okay. I'm recording it. It's a 10-second cancel. I believe we've had 4 canceled oil trades in the past 3 months. We've gone years with no canceled oil trades. That's how strangely oil has been trading these days. We had 2 cancels in a row, almost unheard of. Now, folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, we've kept the trade room open for 2 trades. Would you kindly give us a like if you're on there? And why don't you sign up for the channel and hit the notification bell, and you'll know when the next time we're going to be here. We'll notify you. We stream 3 or 4 times a week. Let's check our time sync by going to the website time.is. My computer likes that website. It almost always puts me in sync. TJ, you're going live? What setup? What setup you using? You're my guinea pig today. Our setup. Now, see, TJ, I don't know how big your account is. So privately, I would love for you to email me and tell me how big your account is. because that will give me a much better insight into you as a trader. If you're willing to tell me that, I'm just curious. I would like to know more about you as a trader. I like the way you trade. I think that, it's hard for me not to trade natural gas. I'm gonna check the numbers this week. But if natural gas is only up $200 in 12 trades, that doesn't make it a family money trade. Does everybody understand that? $200 over 12 weeks. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's too much risk to make too little profit. Does everybody agree with me on this? Or do you think we should be trading natural? You know what? You can't answer it. You might think we should be trading natural gas, but I'm going to pull I know better. I'm going to pull an I know better from experience. I'm going to pull rank. I'm pulling rank on natural gas. I love trading natural gas, folks. That's the truth. It's one of my favorite trades. Maybe I'll just trade it. Next stop, I'll just trade it in the test account regularly. But next week, I'll do the math and I'll show you what the numbers are. I believe it's about $200 profitable over the course of 12 to 15 trades. 12 to 15 trades. Fred, I know you agree because I know you're here to make money for a very specific purpose. You're not here to play games. You're not here to throw coins. TJ, I totally get it. I feel the same way. You know how hard it is for me not to trade natural gas? It's like brutality for me to sit here and not take that trade. But it's my job. It's my job to help all of you make money. And we got to do it the right way. And not every week will be perfect. I don't have to tell you that. Every week is not going to be perfect. There's going to be weeks you want to kill me. But I think if we stick with the plan, we're going to be real happy. So that's the plan. The plan is to stick with the plan. The plan is to stick with the plan. So, Crude, unfortunately, Crude just hasn't been trading that well. So, I mean, Crude, I don't really feel bad about not trading it. Natural gas, because it's so challenging. I know I keep mentioning it over and over and over. It's because it's vexing and challenging. And it's right there in front of my face and it's laughing at me. Natural gas is just laughing at me. It's saying, oh, you want to trade me, but you're a loser. Trade me, you loser. I mean, that's how I feel about natural gas. It's just taunting me every week. It's taunting me. Anyway, it's kind of funny if you think of it in those terms. But trading, it's funny. Sometimes I'll be with my family and everything that anyone will say to me, I can discuss it in terms of trading. In other words, my son will say something like, yeah, I was, my appeal didn't work out. It didn't work well. And I'll say to him, yeah, it's just like trading. Sometimes you have a great appeal. Sometimes you write a bad appeal. I mean, it's just like, I'm definitely crazy. Sometimes I can't separate being a trader from my life. Even though we don't even trade that much, it's something I'm always thinking about. Anyway, that wasn't a good analogy. There's other analogies that are much better. So natural gas, it's a little bit to the downside today. It's, $71, quite a move from when it was below zero. TJ, I'd love, send it to me. I'd love to see it. You can share your Excel sheet, TJ. Absolutely. We're not afraid of the truth. We're not afraid of the truth. TJ, I'm assuming you're making money. I see the way you're trading most of the time. I don't know every trade you take, but I believe you are making money. Okay. So that's a little bit of a, so you got 81.67. 14 tick candle would not be a cause to cancel the trade, but it would concern me a little bit before a trade. Now it is more than a minute before the trade, before the news, I should say. They're expecting a drawdown. The drawdown was 7 million in the Tuesday report. My guess is it's not going to be as dramatic as it was yesterday. And I believe that I'm worried about today's oil report. I'm not trying to scare TJ at all. I just don't think oil's been trading that good, that well. The important number is crude oil inventories. Gasoline inventories is important also. Gasoline does affect summertime oil reports, just like the distillates can affect the winter reports. But nothing is more important than crude oil inventories. That's the main number. That's the driving force of this trade. Ten seconds to go. So it hit the first target and then reversed. Now, I want to hear from TJ what happened to him. He traded exactly our settings. Now, you're getting a move. You have that fairly big drawdown, but you got a lousy move. And I'll show you the video. So TJ, if you want to share what happened to you on that trade when you're done. You lost $40. The reason you lost $40, it hit your first target and then you couldn't get out of the trade, right? It hit your first target and you couldn't get out of the trade. Is that correct? That's what happened. That's a problem. Now, let me tell you something you can try for the future. For natural gas, it might be worth trying. With the software, it might also cut a good trade that doesn't hit the stop and then keeps going when it pulls back a little bit. You have the ability in the software, and I don't love doing it on a natural gas trade, on an oil trade or a natural gas trade, because they're fast. But you can automate the stop to move to break even if you hit your first target. Target one stop move. If you set that to break even, when you hit that first target, it will automatically move the stop. Okay. You could do now. So let's say your first target is 7 ticks. If you set it to break even -2, maybe it'll pull back to your entry, but it won't go any further and you'll stay in the trade, but you'll have protected your profit. So you could do break even -4, break even +2. You follow? Target 1 stop move. If you're trading 3 positions, target 2 stop move. Moves your stop if target 2 is hit. Okay? Why don't I do that all the time? Sometimes the market will move so fast that when you add automation to a news or an event trade, it can create an error sometimes in the software, and it can close the platform. Sometimes I'd like to move the stop myself, but you can't always have time to do it, okay? You don't always have time. Let's take a look at that video, and you'll see why this was a difficult trade. Now, it's not a winner. It hit target 1, but it gave you no time to get out. So you can't call that a winner, even though it hit target 1, right? Let's take a look and see how fast it reversed. Did you have an opportunity to get out of that trade? Let's see. So here's the oil trade. The news was very negative by 2 million. You could see that it hits that target and it pulls back so fast you can't see it with the naked eye. That's why it was really hard to get out with a profit. It pulls back so fast that you can't even see the pullback with the naked eye. Watch. Watch. It's going to hit target 1, 7 ticks, boom, it hit it. Now it's pulled back already. You could not get out of that trade. The only way you could have gotten out of that trade is if you automated your stop move, or if you had your finger on the break even button up top. TJ, that's another TJ future. That's another thing you can do. If you're profitable and you hit the break even button, it'll move the stop to break even +1. Okay. So practice those parts of the software if you're going to insist on trading these fast moving reports. Okay. All right, folks. An educational day today. Nothing wrong with that. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'll answer any question anybody wants to ask. Lorenzo, great song, by the way. That was really something else. Lorenzo has an amazing song. Lorenzo, you can post it for everybody if you want. An amazing Lynyrd Skynyrd song. It's like a Lynyrd Skynyrd tribute, I would call it, right? Right, Lorenzo? Would you agree? It's a tribute song, but really, really well recorded and well done. So, folks, we'll be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock for the Canada trade, which I'm trading as a money trade. Okay. Now, YouTube, before we leave, how about a couple of you give us a like as a way of saying thanks? We'd really appreciate it. Just a couple of likes is all we're asking. It really helps our YouTube channel. And the oil report, I call it a loser today because you did not have time to get out of the market with a target. with any ticks. It was too fast. You couldn't even see it with the naked eye how quickly it reversed. But because it hit that first target, it was not a full stop. It's a partial stop. $40, $50, okay? So I don't see any questions. I'll see everybody at 8 o'clock tomorrow. And I'm gonna take the Canada jobs report as a family money trade. All right? So I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8. Okay, folks. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you later.